I want to say right after that, I respect your guys' commitment to doing a podcast, because even though I just fucked it up, you're swinging with it.
What else am I doing
like
today?
that.
Yeah, I'm still firing.
Oh, thanks. So we just did like an hour and 20 minutes, right?
That was an hour and 20 minutes, really.
That was an hour and 20 minutes.
Oh, wow, yeah. Not bad.
So what happened was I saved the podcast, and I back it up, and I do it the right way, and somehow, magically, the first 12, 15 minutes it appeared is gone.
Well, fortunately,
I don't understand it. I don't understand it.
Well, it's not too bad because we rambled so much that they really only missed about 5 minutes of relevant content.
And the gold was the idea that they're going to take Captain Crunch and turn him into a movie, because, as Bob was saying, Captain Crunch now has a Twitter account. You can follow Captain Crunch on Twitter.
I do follow Captain Crunch on Twitter. And it's great because it's like naval history stuff, like rewoven into Captain Crunch stuff. So it's like it's like, oh, old Soggy Dog and me first got together in 1975, and it was like it's following Captain Crunch. It's nuts.
This is like Snap, Crackle, and Pop. They're going to have that.
Yeah,
they're going to do like these guys are.
No, the Keebler elves will get a movie. The Keebler. It'll be like the Smurfs, but they'll be making cookies.
Or, as we were saying, Count Chocula, or Frankenstein, or Blueberry.
Quake.
Advertising mascots. No, man, what'll happen is they'll make the Count Chocula movie, and then at the end of the Count Chocula movie, some guy will pull a switch and we'll see a pink hand, and that'll be the tease for the Frankenberry movie.
Right.
And then in the Frankenberry movie, the fruit... the fruit brute will be teased, and then there'll be a Booberry movie and a Yummy Mummy movie, and then they'll all get together in like the Serial Avengers. That would be like the
that
next,
would work.
Yeah, that I would see.
Yeah, the
product
no
tie-in
doubt.
right away.
No doubt.
And they'll fight the Trix Rabbit or something. Like the Trix Rabbit
man.
I'm gonna walk down this. I'm going to go next door to the grocery store and walk down the aisle with a whole new perspective.
And Quisp.
Quisp. It's like walking movies. Quisp versus...
The saucer-headed guy from Quisp.
Quake.
I loved Quisp.
I
loved Quake.
Does Cookie Crisp still have the cop and the dog as the mascots, or are they a different thing?
I don't know what they have to do with that. Why suddenly they sell a cookie cereal.
Well, it was like the dog would try to steal the Cookie Crisp, and then the cop would get him. It was like an edgier version of the Twix Rabbit. And the Twix Rabbit would always just get foiled by children for trying to get the Twix, and in this one, it's like, no, the guy who tries to take the Cookie Crisp gets his ass beat because no one's taking your cookies.
So that could be an R-rated one.
Yeah, right. That could be that could be the gritty reboot of Cookie Crisp.
Gritty reboot.
Yeah,
and
that would be a great stage name.
People would hold this to like, this is what we love. This is like we grew up with Count Chocula.
That's not the sugar bear I grew up with.
Right.
Count Chocula doesn't exist anymore, does it? They actually discontinued it, but I think they only sell it in Canada or something.
No, they exist, but they bring it out at like certain times of the year because it's really hard to pretend that Captain Crunch isn't just candy.
Well,
man, I loved.
Thank God they have cocoa and fruit.
Count Chocula, I mean, rather.
Oh yeah.
That's
the reverse.
Rice Krispies
that's
more
the
sugar.
already established comic characters coming in.
The Flintstones.
Fred and Barney, I think that was a good deal for them.
What was the cherry crunch, berry crunch?
Well, they had crunch berries.
Crunch berries,
was like
right?
Captain
there wasn't a
Crunch's
specific character for that. But
there
God,
was a
I
Crunch
loved
Berry Beast.
Yeah, there was. There was
Crunch
for a while. Captain Crunch had a whole menagerie. It was like that same era as McDonald's. Like McDonald's in the 70s had McDonald Land and had those whole characters. You can't find
Hamburglar.
You can't find that shit anywhere anymore. Like the ads and everything, because like Sid and Marty Krofft sued McDonald's because McDonald Land was too similar to HR Puffin stuff.
Huh. Really?
Yeah, so that's why they changed in like the Ronald McDonald I grew up with in the 80s was just Ronald would hang around the store with his friends. But like in the if you went into McDonald's like back then that hadn't been like rebuilt for like I remember the Liberty Tree Mall McDonald's.
You could go to McDonald Land at McDonald's.
Yeah. At the Liberty Tree Mall McDonald's, I remember was weird because they hadn't, as a kid, they hadn't rebuilt that one since the 70s, so it still had like the French fry trees and everything up and all.
Grimace, the milkshake guy.
Yeah, who was originally the villain. In the original, why do I know this? But in the original McDonald's Land continuity, Grimace had 8 arms and was like a monster that stole your food. And the only McDonald's commercial you can find where the Grimace is still the bad guy is an old one that features a very, very young Jodie Foster as one of the little kids who is fighting the Grimace with Ronald McDonald.
Oh, God, and there was Mayor McCheese.
Yep, Mayor McCheese and Officer Big Mac.
I kind of stopped listening to the conversation when you mentioned HR Puff and stuff.
Oh, sorry.
But that happens a lot.
Man, I forgot to even do an intro for the podcast. Did you do that really big?
You erased it. Are we taping now?
We're taping.
Yeah, we're
Oh,
this is
you lucky people.
This is the record.
Oh.
We're segueing.
This is the Post Movie Podcast. I'm Steve Head.
I'm John Black.
And we are happy to have Bob Chipman with us again.
Hey,
Bob, and you got to do it again. You got to tell people. You got to tell people where they can find you if you can do this.
Okay, you can find me at the Escapist Magazine, escapistmagazine.com. No, the Escape to the Movies on Fridays. The Big Picture on Tuesdays. Also, check out my main blog at moviebob.blogspot.com. Also, the Game Overthinker, a video game themed show, airs on Screw Attack whenever we get new episodes up. The Game Overthinker, gameoverthinker.blogspot.com is that blog, and also American Bob on YouTube. And follow me on Twitter at @the_Moviebob.
It's amazing.
I thought he said get at the Gay Overthinker.
He writes the Gay Overthinker because can you really overthink that, really? Do I want to do this? Does this really feel comfortable? Doesn't that hurt?
Sorry.
I'm overthinking it. I should just relax. Yeah, it's Bob answers.
I've thought about it.
Bob answers mail from
yeah.
people who are questioning their sexuality by saying, just relax. Don't overthink it. Wow. The Gay Overthinker. Leave that in.
Oh, I'm never going to live that one down.
Hey, wait, do we have that? Can I now I'd have three.
And this is the part where I'll insert John's new ringtone.
Yeah.
That we created just prior to the podcast.
We could sell that ringtone. People could call up and say, hey, it's $1. We'll sell you this ringtone.
Here it is.
Schlong, 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 schlong,
Schlong.
It's... Wouldn't you die if you were sitting in the subway and someone's phone just started saying schlong, schlong? You're like, you have a ringtone.
Okay, do you know what would be the worst prank ever? like the best, most horrible prank anyone ever pulled would be to air the generic sound cell phone ringtone sound over like a major radio station during drive time. Think about it for a minute. Like immediately everyone goes to their phones. Like that would be like the worst disaster ever. That would be in like the remake of The Good Son. He'll do that instead of throwing the guy off the bridge.
Remember when AOL? Remember AOL?
Yeah.
But when they had you got mail and sign off and sign on by celebrities.
You still have an AOL account.
Oh, I do.
I used to work for him.
I will. So did I.
It was laid off.
I have my AOL account.
I used to have David Letterman saying you got mail and hello and goodbye.
Did he throw off to Paul?
No, but it was just like this curmudgeonly thing. Yeah, but you could get everyone. They had like 30 celebrities who were, I'm sure paid.
If I could have anybody do when they had like answering machines or it would be Orson Welles. I would do that, or Gene Shepard.
You don't want Orson Welles to do it because he would be really pissy at the record though. Mm-hmm. It would be getting the
take after take after take.
It would be funny.
Steve Head, please leave your massage. Orson, that's message. No, I didn't try.
Or if he could figure out how to press the buttons and make it stop. Comment on that.
There's a little man in the booth who's being quite difficult. Orson Welles.
Martini and Rossi.
I just downloaded They had this thing at Amazon. It was all his radio programs. You could get like 50 of the Mercury Theater radio programs for like $3. It's awesome. It's just crazy.
I'm here to introduce you to the Mercury Players.
Yes.
Agnes Moorehead.
I just listened to on my way back from Chicago. I listened to Leonard Bernstein in the New York Philharmonic's rendition of. I think it was a symphonic suite called Sky: The History of Flight, narrated by Orson Welles. Just drama like you've never heard.
Yeah, that's just it. Everything's so dramatic.
I am Orson Welles, and this is the man who saw tomorrow.
On this episode.
Oh my God! I was working in a video store when the turn of the millennium happened, when that went down, and so many people wanted to come in and buy that piece of shit. The Man Who Saw Tomorrow, that movie that was about all of the Nostradamus bullshit.
Yeah,
and everyone was coming in to get that movie. It's like, no, it's true. It's Nostradamus. Fuck Nostradamus. I gotta stop. I'll get off on a rant.
We are supposed to be talking about Spider-Man.
Spider-Man,
That's what I should have said at the beginning of the recording.
Spider-Man.
The amazing Spider-Man.
Spider-Man does whatever a spider can.
Yes.
Was Spider-Man when it started? It wasn't titled Spider-Man. I mean, his first book was something like Amazing something.
He debuted in Amazing Fantasy, which was an anthology series. One of those ones like weird science, crime, suspense stories.
And then it became
The Amazing Spider-Man.
That's why we bring Bob on.
I do what I can
to find these things out.
Yeah.
You know,
now there are how many issues of how many different Spider-Man books come out?
It really depends. They got into a thing in the 80s where, like, various heroes would have multiple books published so they could do it more than once a month. And for a while it was like, there was Amazing Spider-Man, and then it was a big deal at the time that they were going to do a second book, and it was Peter Parker, The Spectacular Spider-Man. Then later on there was Web of Spider-Man, and for a while those were the three that like ran. And now they reboot it all the time. It's like the Amazing, like now there's just the Amazing Spider-Man. For a while they were doing the 3 books again, and it was 3 books a week. Now they're doing Amazing Spider-Man, and I think it's just Amazing 3 times a month.
Yikes!
This is actually this might be tough to edit together because. So we lost the first 12 minutes of the other recording that we did, and
the good stuff.
And it came right. Yeah. So there's the quick review of Savages.
Oh yeah,
disappeared.
We did mention Savages is good. Go see Savages instead of Spider-Man. It's a good Oliver Stone movie. It's California hippie pot growers versus evil Mexican drug cartel pot growers. Like good guy versus bad guy drug dealer war thing. Salma Hayek's in it. Yeah. Taylor Kitsch is finally in a good movie. Go see it. It's
Benicio
good.
del Toro.
Yeah, he's awesome.
He just
no man. I burned down your house and then I killed
And John,
you.
this was everything that lined up for you. It was Oliver Stone. It's crazy.
It's exciting. I didn't know. Here's the thing I loved about being in it is like it's really violent, and you sit through a Spider-Man and they're like, oh, they're punching each other and they're in a fight.
Yeah.
A guy gets shot in the head in this movie,
John was
and the
kind of
back
dancing
of his
a little on the
head
chair when he did that.
flies at the camera.
Yeah. Benicio del Toro bullwhips a guy to death, and his eyeball is hanging out for like 2 minutes of screen time, and it's awesome.
Take that, weenies watching the Spider-Man 3D thinking it's exciting. Yeah, this was just like, it was shocking. Some of the violence was shocking. You just don't see that anymore.
Yeah, this is...
It's like, wow.
It's like Oliver...
Good for you, Mr. Stone.
It's like Oliver Stone wikied the Zeta Gang and said, oh, hey, we should do that.
Yeah, it was even in the beginning, the movie starts with like this home movie of guys chained up and beat up, and the screen goes dark and you hear a chainsaw and you're like, fuck.
From the director of Scarface.
And this is what they're opening opposite Spider-Man, a movie that I had felt like should be September.
This should be out in the fall. This would do so much better in the fall.
Yeah.
Now it's like, great. Taylor Kitsch finally gets a good movie this summer after Battleship and John Carter. Now that he's been labeled as box office poison.
Right.
Because he top-lined these 2 movies that both went tits up. And he's finally in a good movie, and no one's going to go see this.
Yeah.
It's a shame. They could have.
No, it is.
But, I could be wrong. Man on Fire, when that came out years ago, made like $100 million in the summer.
Denzel Washington movie?
Yeah, that did huge business for a while, but I don't know.
I think but what it opened against, because this has got the Spider-Man thing.
Yeah.
They're not really they're promoting it now, but I didn't know anything about Savages beforehand.
It's just going to be like in a minimal number of theaters. It's
not getting a huge release.
And Spider-Man opening on Tuesday.
Yep.
Right. Well, maybe by the time, Friday rolls around, people who want something new. And
hopefully.
Yeah, I would love to just go into a theater and switch the signs for like Madagascar and Savages. So now they're all digital. You can't do that.
Right, yeah.
I would love to see little kids' faces because Savages starts out pretty brutal from the start.
What's happening?
Yeah. Wow.
It's a long flick.
Yeah. It's I would highly recommend it.
I would still be less humiliated to go see that. Like I still want to go see Madagascar 3 because I like the first 2, but every time I go in, I just can't get past the fact that I'm about to sit down and pay money to watch that circus, Afro circus, Afro. I guess like.
You think it's in your head now? Wait till you've seen it.
That is the worst part of these animated movies are these. Communal dance sequences and
he got writing credit for that.
Chris Rock got writing. I love Chris Rock, I really do. But other than voiceovers, they need to stop putting Chris Rock in movies because he's not good in movies. He's good in voiceover and stand up.
He's just not really believable. What were the 2 days in 2 days in New York? The Julie Delpy movie that he was in. I mean, he looks great in the part, but you still never believe that he's actually being a real person.
Or what to expect when you're expecting.
Yeah, what to expect.
He just looks like he's doing his stand-up, waiting to deliver a line. And, nothing against this guy. I do like him. I liked his documentary about hair.
Oh, Good Hair is awesome. Good Hair is the best thing he's done.
Because it was his.
Yeah.
He wasn't trying to be a character. He was just his. His directing, the things he directs are pretty bad.
I thought your favorite thing was Pootie Tang.
I don't consider that a Chris Rock vehicle. He was the dad. Yeah, he was killed by the gorilla. Can we do a whole show on Pootie Tang?
Louis C.K.'s Pootie Tang.
Do you like his show, Louis C.K.?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
He's great.
It's insane.
He never should have apologized for that Sarah Palin thing on Twitter. That was
No.
perfectly funny, perfectly within the bounds of good taste for a comedian.
Right.
And, he's like, oh, I have to apologize because she's America's mom. And fuck her.
What was she? Was her feelings hurt?
No, he did like a really like nasty Twitter rant about Sarah Palin. It got very sexual, and then he's like, everyone's like, you need to apologize for this. No, you fucking don't. She's a public figure. Fuck her.
Being a nasty boy is what he does.
Yeah, right. It's and no one asks, the shock jocks to apologize for the crap they put, Michelle Obama and Nancy Pelosi through.
Yeah, and they just say stuff for the shock value. Louis C.K.'s making comedy.
Have you seen the Obama Romney Bake Off thing? Did you see some magazine is doing a recipe comparison between like Michelle Obama's cookie recipe and Ann Romney's? Like they made them submit real ones. The Obama cookie one is black and whites. Very, very funny. But take a wild guess what the Romneys put up as cookies. Like what's the whitest cookie you can think of?
Sugar cookie.
Oatmeal cookies in the and that's just so perfect. It's like the Romneys oatmeal cookies, yes. And that's a guy who appreciates a good piece of white toast.
Here's a segue.
Yeah.
What's Spider-Man's favorite cookie? Can he eat cookies?
He pulls the mask up and he can get cookies.
Just look at me like, what the fuck? There's no punchline.
Actually, I imagine it would be more of Hostess
cookies.
fruit pies.
He'll probably make
He wants to
Spider-Man
eat
cookies.
Aunt May's cookies.
Yeah.
Sally Field. We like her.
Oh yeah.
Really like her.
Yeah. Yeah, she's got something.
Yeah.
She's still got it.
Yeah, no.
He was
Yeah,
hot.
and if you wonder what we're talking about, kids, rent Smokey and the Bandit.
I thought she was hot in
Yeah.
the Flying Nun.
Yeah,
That's a little weird, Steve.
No.
It's a little weird.
no, Flying Nun was cool. Flying Nun was cool.
Gidget?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, people like my age and younger only know her as Forrest Gump's mom, so like we don't realize that she
Oh my
used to
God,
be like
she used to be hot.
yeah, she was like
Still,
one, she's still good looking for
What
that
was
for a woman
hot
that
was
age.
when she jumped on Burt Reynolds and
Yeah.
Smokey and the Bandit.
When she was driving
The
around in
bad
that
back.
car with her feet up on the dashboard.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Nah.
Yeah.
She was smoky.
Yeah, she was great,
Yeah.
man. She's great in that Smokey and the Bandit.
Smoking in the
Sally
Bandit.
Field is in The Amazing Spider-Man, playing the new version of Aunt May.
Well, she's in the movie. She's kind of like you said. She's just kind of standing.
Yeah, she gets. Yeah, they completely misuse Aunt May in this.
At the
movie.
risk of repeating ourselves, because I
Yeah.
don't know exactly at what point we lost what was discussed after a certain point in our Spider-Man review, but she is sporting the small T-shirts.
Yeah, that's a thing. Yeah. No, it is a thing. No, I'm trying to remember where it came in on this week.
Yeah,
well, actually,
yeah.
shit, we didn't say. John, what did you think of The Amazing Spider-Man?
Well, this was the
Aunt
thing.
May's
We
a
had
MILF.
some problems with Andrew Garfield.
Yeah.
Not that he's a bad actor. He's a great actor.
He's horrible. I don't think
But
they had
it's
any
just
clue of what he
something-
wanted to do,
No.
how he wanted to play this, because it changes so much in the opening scenes.
Well, some like the other kids in school treat him like he's like the nerd treats him like the bully guy, Flash Thompson.
Right.
Treats him like, oh man, you're such a huge nerd. But when we see the movie, he's really not a huge nerd. He's
Right.
He's kind of a badass. He gets his ass kicked, but he stands up to the guy and throws out a bunch of quips. Pretty much already acts like Spider-Man, even though he's not Spider-Man yet.
Right.
He's obviously. I mean, they can't do anything about the fact that Andrew Garfield is handsome. Fine, but like they don't even try to hide the fact that.
Probably they wanted to, but
Well, I mean, he
they could have messed up his hair a little.
he looks
bit.
like a male
Twilight
model.
hair.
Yeah.
So they throw in a scene where he like has trouble talking to girls, and I'm like, I am not buying this at all. This guy's been beating him off with a stick since he turned 13. This is not.
So guys, somehow what I have to do is I have to somehow edit this into what already exists. So let's hope it flows.
Well, no, it's okay. It's like, let me give you an example of why The Amazing Spider-Man sucks, because it does suck. And there's this. If there's a scene that is worse in a movie this summer than the big climactic scene of this movie, should we spoil the scene for people?
Let's put in spoiler alert
Spoiler
from here
alert.
on in.
Yeah.
There will be spoilers.
The big climactic scene of this movie is in this movie they're really suddenly concerned about where Spider-Man's web goes when he shoots it to swing. Like in the other movies in the comics, he just kind of shoots it off into the air and then swings, and you assume it connected with something because who fucking cares? It's it's Spider-Man.
Right, right.
Like there's a giant lizard running around. Nobody cares where the web is going. But in this one, they're like, no, it went to a helicopter. It went to a building. So there's at the end of the movie, he needs to run across the city to stop the lizard, who's the new big bad guy
Right.
for this one, which is a reboot, not a sequel. It's they're starting over again. for very no good reason. He has to run his ass across the city to get to this building, and
he's injured.
Yeah, he's hurt his leg, and he can't run as fast.
Did he get shot?
Yeah, he got shot.
He gets shot by the cops, and then he shows his face to Captain Stacy, Dennis Leary. Your boyfriend wears a lot of masks. I get it. Oh God, he has to run.
We're recording this in Boston for you know.
He has to run his ass across the city, and he's been shot in the leg. And earlier in the movie, he had saved some random guy's kid. From a car that was on fire and hanging off a bridge. Right. And so as Spider-Man's running across the city, this guy comes back into the movie and turns out to be like a construction crane operator.
C. Thomas Howell. Which I did not know, but John...
Yeah. I was bugging Bob in the middle. Like, who's that guy?
It's C. Thomas Howell. And it's implied that he's working at, like, I think Ground Zero, the construction site, because there's a big flag behind him when he shows up, because we're being subtle.
Right, right.
Yeah, which is something that worked. I'll come back to this in a minute. In the other movies had these kind of shticky moments. But, like, so C. Thomas Howell is like, he says, Spider-Man, that's the guy that saved my kid. So he picks up his radio receiver and calls every other crane operator, the skyscraper-mounted crane operators in New York, and they all swing their cranes out over the city, conveniently in one path, so that Spider-Man has something to web swing on so he can get to the building. And it's in slow motion and dramatic, and he's running and limping. And, you know, and this awful James Horner score is, I think it's James Horner. It could be someone else, but it might have been James Horner. Is going like, ooh.
This is the common man's show of support for Spider-Man.
And it's all this stuff, and he's running, and it's just awful. And the reason that this sucks in this movie is that the rest of this movie is trying to be very flip and edgy. You know, this is the newer, darker, cool. You know, Spider-Man's a badass skateboard guy, and he sasses people.
He does this skateboard scene where he's trying out his new abilities, where he's like, good, best. He's the most awesome skateboarder you've ever seen.
With his little hoodie pulled up, because he's like, I'm dark and mysterious in this one, because we're trying to be Twilight and I'm trying to be Edward, so I'm mysterious and dark. Yeah, check me out, girls. And they're trying to be all edgy and hip, and like they don't do the with great power comes great responsibility, because that would be lame, and all of this stuff, trying to make it much more extreme for the teenagers. And then they go and do this bullshit. In the earlier Sam Raimi movie has a similar scene where he's fighting the Green Goblin and people are throwing stuff off the bridge like, yeah, man, you mess with Spider-Man, you mess with New York, mother. And it's dopey there, but the reason that worked there was it was right after 9/11, and you're doing the first big superhero movie in New York. You need to do something in that nature. And also, those movies were self-consciously trying to affect kind of a stylized 1960s comic book kind of feel, where Peter Parker was a dweeb and everything was very arch and broad, and it earned that kind of,
or maybe even a nod to 70s Superman.
This ending,
you know? And Raimi filmed in such candy-coated colors.
Yeah, it's
it was in the daytime. It was all bright and sunny, and look, everything looks confectionery.
Yeah, you can't make a movie like The Amazing Spider-Man that is 90% of the movie is this big FU to, you know, the kind of classical comic book fun superhero thing, because they're all trying to be Batman now, and then end on this moment that would only work in kind of a retro, overly earnest kind of movie. It doesn't work that way. You can't, like, you know, take out with great power, because that would be, I assume it's out, because that would just be too arch, and then end on a scene like this. It doesn't work that way.
That's what I like so much about Captain America. They embraced the cornball.
Yeah, he's like
good point.
And it works so well.
Right.
They weren't trying to be dark and edgy.
It's something you felt good about.
He was a good man, damn it.
You know? And this is comparatively a cold movie.
They took to heart that that's who Captain America is, and they made that movie without making it dark and edgy.
Here, Spider-Man isn't about the people.
Yeah.
It's not. There's something that's not communal about it.
And you can do like that thing, like with some guy, like you can do it with Batman, fine, or something like that. But like, what so many of these, and my generation of nerds is responsible for this, because we had Watchmen and The Dark Knight, the comic book, The Dark Knight Returns, both come out being these, you know, revisionist, violent takes on superheroes.
Damn you.
The moral of, like, Watchmen is that superheroes shouldn't be dark or realistic, because they'd fuck up the real world and the real world would fuck them up.
Right. But being dark was never Spider-Man.
Not really. No, Spider-Man was never dark, and he shouldn't be. And my generation of nerds was so excited to have like serious literary criticism of comic books and to have
which kind of started with Frank Miller, his take on Batman in the 80s, and then I think they were just reaching for the same thing.
And Alan Moore's Watchmen did the same thing, but these were like alternate future books for fans. It's like, hey, here's these things you're familiar with, and they're all dark, but like the popular culture seized on them, and we were so glad. Like suddenly we could come out of the closet as older comic book reading fans. We're able to come out and say, yeah, I'm still reading Aquaman, absolutely, but it's okay. He's dark and edgy. Look, they cut off his hand and gave him a trident. Look at all the blood and the guts, and it's so badass. And it didn't work for all these characters. And like in the 90s, superheroes got ruined by all of this bullshit of trying to make them dark and edgy and grim and gritty, in order to appeal to that. And it doesn't work because these characters were invented for children. They aren't all, some of them you can turn around into that, like Batman, you can get a little bit, Green Arrow, they turned him into like, the liberal man on the street Avenger guy, kind of works. Spider-Man swings around on little strings and fights a guy in a goblin Halloween mask. It doesn't
talks to himself.
It doesn't work. And what they're trying to do in this movie is to make him, they're trying to make a teenage romance, and they're also trying to make it more, realistic. Realistic doesn't work.
Okay, so what I'm going to try to do here is I'm going to try and mix.
I think that's where the last one ended off, was right around.
Right.
There.
So I'm gonna try and mix what we already said, and hopefully this flows. So apologies to everyone out there listening if we repeat ourselves. We tried our best. You're saying don't apologize?
Yeah, I wouldn't. I never admit.
So it's like you're saying take this podcast and shove it down people's throats. I'm not.
They don't
like
have
that,
to know
John.
we made any mistakes. You just let it play.
I don't think there's a way to get around the mistakes part, but.
I never apologize.
So I'm like
whatever.
We'll try and mix here.
The
see what cuts together.
The thing came back in on the crane scene, so that should cut together okay.
Let's see if it works.
Yeah. All right.
Cool. Here we go, people.
And he's hard case, and everything is all realistic. And this movie doesn't earn that kind of earnest sincerity.
Well, and that's the thing that really bothered me about this movie is the guy playing Peter Parker.
Yeah, good actor.
What? Those
Andrew
1970,
Garfield.
Those murder movies, the British, was it Red something?
Red Riding Hood?
No.
The Red Riding trilogy?
Yeah. Great in that. He was good in
Social Network.
Social Network. Good actor.
Never Let Me Go.
But he never seemed to get a grasp on what Peter Parker's supposed to be.
Well, he's been given a god-awful script that doesn't know what it wants Peter Parker to be, other than they want him to be sexy. This is their big order for this. They very much want this to be like the Twilight of superhero movies.
Right.
And everybody's saying the movie succeeds on that level because when Emma Stone and Andrew Garfield are on screen together,
nothing's going to beat the kiss,
works.
the upside-down kiss from the first one in the rain.
Yeah, that's
just movie magic.
Yeah, that's iconic. Like this movie's what is this movie's version of that? Like he grabs her with a web and pulls her across a roof for like a spin thing, and it looks so stupid.
Yeah. And I love Emma Stone.
Oh, she's great, and she's good in this.
Yeah.
But what does she have to do? She's got like she has the most complex character because she gets to be both a damsel in distress and an exposition fairy.
Right.
So she has two, entirely mechanical plot things to do.
But you watch the movie, and it's kind of like flatline, boop, it bumps.
Yeah.
Every time she comes on, it's just not me. It's just there's this little
there she is.
Energy boost.
Yeah.
When she comes on. When I don't go into comic book stores much because I just can't afford to. I can't walk out without having one of everything. But last time I was it's been a long time. I went into a comic book store and I looked at the Spider-Man. And when I bought Spider-Man comics, there were 2, maybe.
Yeah, around that. Probably.
Now there are what? 5, 10, 20 different editions?
Yeah.
Limited edition, 5 of 6 or 6 of 6.
Who knows what to keep up with?
And the thing is, it thins out, it waters down the stories a lot.
Yeah.
But so I was trying to approach this movie this way. That it's just another retelling. It's like you picked up the bad Spider comic at the store. You're like, I'll read this, whatever. Oh, it's 5 issues. Okay, I'll do 5 of them.
It was endlessly predictable.
Yeah.
I mean, we how many times have we been introduced to this story? It was just like. Point to point to point.
Right. And
getting to what?
When the Green Goblin talked to himself
in
the Raimi films.
Yeah, right.
that was cool because it was a madman arguing with himself, and Willem Dafoe can do that.
Right, yeah.
They have they bring out the same cliche. Now it just seems like a cliche. They bring out the same effect where they have the lizard man arguing with himself, and it's like, really?
Well, and what's great is he's not arguing with himself, though. He's agreeing with himself.
Right.
In the comics, the lizard is like an alternate personality that Dr. Connors is like fighting against. And in this one, he turns into the lizard the first time, and he's like, then they do like the arguing with himself scene, and him and the lizard are like, they're doing it because it was in the first Spider-Man movie.
Right.
And he's the lizard now, but but they're not like arguing. It's like, I think we should kill Spider-Man. Yes, I agree. We should kill Spider-Man. Good, let's go kill Spider-Man. Yes, why are we talking about this to each other when we agree and we're on the same wavelength? I don't know, but we have to.
Let me ask you this. Since the movie is basically a rehash, and I just have this, as I'm sure a lot of people do, this strong feeling that the reason this exists is because of Sony's bottom line. They want to be sure that they've got some sort of franchise that can take them into the next couple of years. Beyond that, what else does this add?
Nothing.
Not really. Well, it makes them not have to pay Tobey Maguire, Kirsten Dunst, and Sam Raimi, $50 million to come back for another movie. Is like the main thing it's accomplishing. But like they are trying to they're clearly setting up a trilogy because they've got 4 or 5 major plot things in this movie that are either unresolved or dropped completely, and they've decided to go back to and take the dumbest thing from Spider-Man's anything that goes on for 40, 50 years or however long this has been going on accumulates like bad story ideas. One of the stupidest things that's ever been added to Spider-Man's mythology is this idea that Peter Parker's parents were somehow important. Like, originally, they didn't even have names. Peter Parker, like, him being raised by an aunt and uncle was just another way to make him, different and out of touch from other people, that he's being raised by 2 old people that he has to also look after, on top of everything else.
Well, they're sort of his moral foundation.
Right. But, when they first wrote the Spider-Man comics, there wasn't, all of this stuff about, and his parents were this thing. And then after, I think a decade or so, they did an annual special in the 70s that was this whole thing about, oh my god, Peter Parker's dead parents were actually spies and they knew the Red Skull and all of this thing. And every time this comes back up in the comics, it makes it stupider because it's dumb. It makes him less special, or it makes him less of just an everyman type person. And now in this movie, there's all this nonsense about Peter Parker's father is a scientist who knew the lizard, and he invented the stuff that turns people into half animals and makes him Spider-Man. Supposedly there was there's a whole big chunk that's been cut out of the movie where the reason he's Spider-Man is because his father experimented on himself and he passed genetics on.
So it only
like the Ang Lee version of the Hulk.
Right, and the thing that is weird is it's Campbell Scott.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, he doesn't just do a walk-on.
Yeah.
He's either been cut out or this story's going to be in 2.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll have them. I mean, in the comics, they came back for a while, but they turned out to be robots. Yeah. So, I wouldn't put that above this movie because who knows? Maybe that was Campbell Scott as an elderly man in the bizarre credits scene.
I don't know.
Which makes no sense.
And what about the Dennis Leary? I thought he did an all right job.
Poor Dennis
You
Leary.
don't think so?
I
thought the supporting roles in the film were actually okay.
I thought he acted like he was in a straitjacket the whole time to me.
Yeah.
He just didn't seem comfortable up there. Yeah.
Are you a fan of...
I get it, honey. Your boyfriend wears a lot of masks.
Yeah.
If what's his show?
Rescue Me.
Yeah, Rescue Me.
Yeah, that's Dennis Leary.
Oh, yeah.
This is some guy collecting a paycheck, and it's like watching Martin Sheen and Sally Field as Uncle Ben and Aunt
Lord.
May.
Yeah, what a waste of Sally Field.
Yeah, but he loves Sally Field.
Of course you do.
She's great.
Why is she standing there looking lost? I mean,
loved her T-shirts in the movie too.
The what?
She was looking cute.
Well,
How
wait,
was she?
I didn't hear the first part.
I loved her T-shirts in the movie.
Her T-shirts.
Yeah.
Sally Field's T-shirts.
Yes.
What am I missing here?
Well, I think the T-shirts are perhaps a little small for a woman of her frame, is what he's driving at. I think is
wardrobe
where, I think is where we're heading with this.
Who played Aunt May in the Raimi movie?
Rosemary Harris.
She was perfect.
Yeah, she was great.
She was the right age. She was sassy and sweet and sad and all that other stuff. All I saw was Sally Field going, ooh.
Yeah, it's like I don't object to a younger Aunt May because that's what they did in Ultimate Spider-Man and it worked okay. But like they've gone to the trouble of hiring Sally Field, who is a real actress for these things, and maybe they'll give her more to do in the other ones. But like in other Spider-Man stories, like Aunt May is like the moral center who gives him advice. You know, in this one, he's getting all of his advice from Gwen Stacy, and Aunt May is literally just there. All she does is stand in the kitchen and get mad at him when he comes home late. Like, there's nothing for her to do in this movie.
Right.
There's even less for Uncle Ben to do. He has more to do because he has a plot point. He has to show up and die. But otherwise, he has nothing. He doesn't even get to say his line.
Right. What's up with that?
Yeah.
The movie
Uncle Ben has to say that line.
Yeah, like with great power comes great responsibility. Yeah. Why do you hire Martin Sheen, who is at this point only known for, you know, sagely intoning advice in Martin Sheen's voice, and not have him say it?
Right.
Like, he comes close to saying it, and then they cut out because I guess that would be too lame, you know, for this new edgy Spider-Man.
The movie also lacks a certain comic relief, something that J. Jonah Jameson brought to the...
Yeah, they're trying to supplement that by making Spider-Man a comedian, which is a complaint that people always had about the other movies, was that the Spider-Man in those ones didn't, like, run around and joke and make fun of the criminals a lot. If you see this movie, you'll know why they didn't do that.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work in live action. Having a guy sit there, you know, bobbing his head around while Andrew Garfield ADRs, you know, jokes in over it, it makes Spider-Man come off like a douchebag. You know, the jokes in the comic kind of work because most of the time he's sort of talking to himself or, you know, just kind of going. In this one, he's, you know, like, you know, it's like, well, I've got this guy. I'm pretty sure you're the guy who murdered my uncle, and I'm going to beat you up for it. But first, check out my stand-up material.
Yeah.
Well, I shoot you with my muzzle flare web shooters that are so awesome.
It is it making money?
It probably will.
It's doing pretty good. It's not like
it opened Wednesday, right?
Tuesday.
Tuesday. Yeah.
So they'll probably count
6-day weekend,
6-day opening weekend for this one, but it's up to like 75 mil now. We're recording this on Friday afternoon. I'm sure it does big, but like adjusted for inflation, it actually opened the least of the Spider-Man movies.
And how much did it cost?
Officially, they're somewhere up around 200 mil.
Yeah,
they're probably.
I would say
that.
It doesn't look like it. It feels like a small movie.
No, it's very cheap. A lot of that cost is allegedly reshoots, that they shot this for a certain amount, and then they had to go back and reshoot a bunch of the movie because it didn't work. It still doesn't work.
And who's the director for this thing?
Mark Webb.
Mark Webb.
500 Days of Summer.
What about I like 500 Days of Summer, but what about that movie gives you the credentials to do Spider-Man?
I think that he was hired on the idea that he can do a relationship thing, which is important to the whole
it's not,
Spider-Man.
Yeah, but it's not what makes a action blockbuster work.
Well, I think they were I don't think they were. I mean, they were looking to get someone probably who did not have the kind of clout that Sam Raimi does by now.
Right.
You know, where Sam Raimi can turn around and look at them and say, you know, even though people didn't like Spider-Man 3 as much as the others, I made you like $1 billion off these things, so you need to get on my way and let me do what I want. Right. And unfortunately, what he wanted to do was not stuff that the studio wanted to do. You know, they, he wanted to do, the fun, early 60s comic booky style Spider-Man, and they wanted venom and darkness and all of this nonsense. Yeah. And I mean, they were doing Spider-Man 4. He was going to, have John Malkovich play the Vulture. So it would be John Malkovich in a bird costume flying around, which would be awesome, but, it's clearly not what they wanted. What they wanted was sexy, romantic Spider-Man, always fighting at night and being all dark because that's how Batman
that
is.
Doesn't
and that's
seem,
what we
even
do now.
Evil Dead for Sam Raimi had a certain... sense of humor. Camp.
We've gone from the director of Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, Dark Man, Simple Plan,
Straight to Hell.
Yeah, Drive Me to Hell. All of these, great movies. The creator of Hercules and 2. We've gone from all like this guy is like an icon of nerd cinema, and we've gone to the director of a mildly entertaining Zooey Deschanel vehicle.
Well, I think that the main thing is that they wanted to cut young, and dark. And I have this feeling that they used the whole idea of rebooting Star Trek. Well, we're going to do that young. We're going to do it darker, mean, sleek, and that's what they wanted to do here with this.
Yeah, and that wasn't good either.
That's the money decision.
I've always thought of Spider-Man as kind of the bright, sunny cartoon.
Yeah, he's the fun guy.
Yeah, that 60s comic on TV. God, that was just so silly.
John, that's a good point. Also, Andrew Garfield's physicality doesn't match. At least the image that I have of Spider-Man in the comics.
He's way too toned and cute.
Yeah.
It's not about. I don't know the two toned and cute is the thing. It's that he's his body type doesn't seem to match what. Like I think actually Tobey Maguire was a better body type for Spider-Man.
Tobey Maguire was better in every way.
Yeah.
Like even the New York Times review of the Amazing Spider-Man, Manohla Dargis says that Andrew Garfield has a pencil neck.
Which would be appropriate if he was if they were having him play him as like the classical nerd archetype that like Peter Parker is.
Right.
But in this one, what they're really going for, people get mad when I say this because it sounds like like an easy cheap criticism. They want this to be Twilight. Mm-hmm. They want the non-Spider-Man versions of this to be Twilight.
The way Emma Stone was lit in some of those scenes, she was glowing.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
Plus, Peter Parker has Twilight hair.
I don't know what
he does.
I don't know what you can do about that though. That is kind of Andrew Garfield's
head. His hair is extremely coiffed.
Yeah,
just like it's that windblown.
He doesn't
he's like a Harlequin romance cover.
Well, he doesn't have automatic nerd credential like Tobey Maguire might have.
Right.
Who's kind of like a man boy.
Well, because they don't want him to be a nerd though. They want him to be like this sort of because like
he's misunderstood.
Yeah, well, he's misunderstood, and it's that they want him to be like almost this Holden Caulfield thing because in this version he's mad because he remembers his parents and he feels abandoned and he's this dude who stays out all night and he gets beat up and he's angry and edgy and people think he's weird and put up. So it's they want him to be Edward Cullen from Twilight. Where it's no, you don't go near him, girl. He like in the comics it's Peter Parker can't get girls because he's lame. In this one it's no one wants to talk to him because he's dangerous. And he's already Spider-Man before he's Spider-Man and he undergoes no character change throughout the movie other than kind of learning lessons that he keeps going back on.
Right. Where if you remember Tobey Maguire, remember how skinny and he was before the spider bit him, and then he's like even flexing in the mirror going, hey, this stuff works.
Yeah.
He was just and he remained a nerd at heart.
Yeah, he's even in the third one, which everyone hates the thing in the third one where he turns evil and starts dancing.
Right.
I love that part because every other time a movie or a comic does the good guy turns bad, the good guy turns bad and suddenly he's awesome. And it's like, well, what is that about? Why? That doesn't make any sense. This is the only version of it that ever got that right, that the good guy turns evil and he sucks at it because that's not him. So he's walking down the street and he's like pointing at the girls and the girls are looking at him like, who's this douchebag? It's one of the best scenes in that series and everyone hates it because it's not dark and edgy and gritty and fuck you.
Ooh, can we end on that note?
That's the way. I was going to say there's a subplot in this where
there's a couple.
Peter becomes sort of more accepted by the school bully.
Yeah, Flash Thompson.
Yeah. Who he humiliates.
Yeah.
And I guess at that time where he's trying to, showcase or test his new abilities.
That's one thing I liked about this one is that Flash gets to be a character because he's an important character from like the mythology, and he's really only in the Sam Raimi movies for a little bit because they're only in high school for a little bit, and they get him mostly right. But like the idea that Flash Thompson is like a fan of Spider-Man and doesn't know Peter is
what
Spider-Man.
He gets is his stamp of approval.
Yeah,
but the guy ultimately was.
Yeah, like
an ass.
Yeah, like and it seems like Flash is still an asshole. So like what like that they're friends now doesn't make a lot of sense. It's like it's not like he suddenly has redeeming qualities.
Right.
At least when they stretched, they were eventually friends in the comics, but they stretched it out over years and years. Where being like a Spider-Man fan was Flash's like thing that taught him to be a better person. In this one, it's kind of like, hey Peter, your uncle died and I'm sad, so maybe we should hang out now. It's like, okay, fine, whatever, fuck you.
Yeah.
It's just badly made. It's not like these are like fanboy type complaints of they didn't get this.
No, sure. Without that, it's a badly made movie.
It's badly directed. It's badly like there's some good action scenes. The web swinging looks a little better in this one, I guess.
I thought the CGI for Lizard was pretty cool in 3D.
Oh, he looked so fake though.
I did not like when they had the Spidey cam.
Oh, the first person in 3D?
Yeah.
You didn't like that?
Fuck. I don't need that.
I understand you want to show off your 3D, but it's kind of underwhelming. It looks it looks like something that would be on like the ride at Universal Studios or something.
It just didn't. It pulled me out of what I was really looking to get out of anyway, and that's the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys seem so underwhelmed.
Now,
I didn't have that kind of really bad reaction to it. It just feels, cold. But at the same time, I thought there was some really, there was some fun stuff. The CGI with I didn't mind the swinging through the city stuff, even though it was completely absurd with the tower cranes lining up and everything like that. It was, it did play to the CGI a couple of times. I mean, I'm sorry, it did play to the 3D a couple of times.
I expect that from 3D. Now, the sad thing is, I'll be going to see it again on Monday in IMAX.
Why you do not have a choice?
A friend of mine's coming up from the Cape, Elwood, and he's a huge Spider-Man fan, and he's dying. They don't have IMAX on the Cape, so it's going to be seen in IMAX. And I'm like, it's $12.
You know what's interesting is that
18 at night.
Like
$18 fucking dollars to see this.
$18?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I guess in the internet sense, it's getting pretty good reviews, but there's really like, you know what it's like? It's like a dry sponge. Because it's like you're trying to wring some sort of emotion out of it, and people who really want to like this movie are going to find that they're going to wring something out of it. But I just don't feel it's there. I mean, I didn't really feel anything for it was the movie. It was just mechanical.
It's forgettable. It's
a
definitely
process.
forgettable.
No, it makes money. Maybe they get a sequel, but it's not
definitely.
It's not something that I think people are going to like remember after. Like people are like when however well this does, I don't think this goes on to be like the more memorable movie version of Spider-Man. There's just nothing like iconic. There's nothing to grab onto.
Right.
But there's the Avengers is a phenomenon for a reason. And it's not just that it had good action scenes or that it had all these other movies built up. There's like real meat in that movie for people to grab onto. You know, these characters are likable. There's this like relationship between Robert Downey Jr. and Mark Ruffalo that's so interesting, and these characters are meaningful and likable. And there's this villain who has, motivations that make sense and is, you can see where he's coming from, and he's almost sympathetic. And it has all of this buildup and stuff that really like impacts that, that's why people are going back to see that movie again and again and again. I don't really see people going back to see this again and again, because once you've seen it, you've seen it. It's not like people are going to go back like the first Spider-Man. Like
that's the thing, Bob. What new does this offer? The Lizard. What new?
A stupid ongoing storyline for the sequels about trying to find out what happened to his parents.
Does Spider-Man fall into the same sort of scenario that X-Men at Fox does? In other words, do they have to keep making some type of X-Men movie? And if they don't, the copyright is going to lapse.
Yeah.
So did this movie come about because Sony had to create something about Spider-Man within a given amount of time?
Yeah, they needed to keep the series going, and they didn't want to keep it going by having to keep paying Sam Raimi and the original actors all this money. So they fired them, canceled the in-production Spider-Man 4, and rebooted, so that they could get this done faster, cheaper, quicker, and hold on to this license. Because nobody at Sony wants to be the guy that lets Spider-Man go if Marvel takes him back and puts him in the Avengers and makes $1 billion off the next movie.
Do you know what the time frame is for being able to keep the copyright going?
I don't know that it's like a set thing. It's more that the longer you let it go in these type of contracts, that eventually the original license holder has more sway to take it back. So
they've been spinal tapped.
Yeah,
the Spinal Tap deal. That they've got to do something like every couple of years, or else the Spinal Tap copyright falls out of. John, are you done with this?
Oh, I'm so done with it.
Yeah, I'm through with this fucking movie.
Yeah,
do you guys?
Bob's laying back, blowing smoke rings. He's done.
I'm shocked. I don't think I've seen Bob react so adversely to something that I had thought that was kind of like right up his alley.
Oh,
I'm talking about Bob in the third person.
He was a tough audience when he walked in.
It's early yet.
Yeah.
You had a lot of negativity towards the film prior to seeing it.
Well, it's and I'm catching hell for this, by the way, because in addition to reviewing, I also blog and tweet.
Yeah.
And if you blog or tweet anything about a movie looking bad or about this sounding like a bad idea, if you then review it and say, "Hey, I was right. This is kind of bad." People get, "You're biased. You went in wanting to hate it."
Yeah, but Bob, you're part of this. There's the whole idea that you should like this because this was made for you. So there's some people who take that and they run with it.
This wasn't
and you're
made
wrong
for
for
me.
disagreeing.
This was not made for me though. This was
but your readers or the student, they think that
the Sam Raimi movies to a degree were more made for me, quote unquote. The Avengers was made for me. This was made for
Sony's bottom line.
Well, for Sony's bottom line, and also because they thought, well, we've got this property where the guy's kind of young, so this can be our Twilight Hunger Games bullshit.
Yeah.
Now you've actually got me a little pissed at the fact that this movie exists now.
Well, then my
look at
job
it from
here is
that
done,
angle.
citizen.
If they're taking something that's sacred to comic book fans and turning it into something that is like, ooh, we're going to give it a little of this Twilight thing. Fuck that.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
Especially when there's other things you can do that with, and it's a small thing. Like I don't think they set out to make Twilight. Like that was the rumor when it first started out, was they're setting out to make this a Twilight style romance thing, and that's definitely there in the high school scenes. I mean, not for nothing, it's a girl whose dad is a cop and her boyfriend is an outcast who sneaks into her room.
She's going to be in big trouble.
All this stuff. Well, in the comics, she is in. It doesn't end well for Gwen Stacy. That's where
John and I are like follow-ups.
No, it doesn't end well.
Spoiler alert for the next movie, but she, or I assume for the next movie, the next one. But in the comics, Gwen Stacy dies. Like that's the only important thing about this character.
Only having periodically, I knew that.
Yeah, well, it was the big thing at the time that this was, to separate Spider-Man in the 70s out from other superheroes was, you know what? We should kill the hero's girlfriend. That doesn't usually happen. So they did that. That's like the only otherwise she was kind of a bland love interest. She's really only well remembered for being the because she was like every other superhero girlfriend at the time. She's blonde and she's nice and she grounds him. And then they killed her off, and it was like, wow, now she's very meaningful because this never happens.
Right.
And then they hooked him up with Mary Jane Watson in the comics, who is a more interesting love interest because she's a mess. So they complement each other very well.
Movie that was made for me?
What?
Zombie Strippers.
There you go.
And it did not disappoint.
No, that was good.
I walked into that, and Sean Burns, he stood up and he goes, I knew you'd be here. I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
Or what's the one we might be talking about next episode? Bikini Spring Break.
Well, yeah, that was made for all boys.
Now, hold on. Is this like a new thing with that title, or is that like a...
No, it's sitting right there on the table, Bob.
Seriously?
So good.
Oh, I know it's so good, but like I'm looking at this now, I'm thinking like, oh man, I'm a little disappointed because those were so much funnier in the 80s when they were like shot on real film, and all of the unfortunate actresses conscripted to be in them were always giving these really earnest, like give their all performances, because these were all girls that got right off the bus, said, I'm going to be a movie star, and some guy puts him in
I'll
like,
take my shirt off.
Oh shit, what was that thing? Oh my god, that the bikini car wash company.
Yeah.
Am I the only one that remembers this? That this was a whole franchise of girls running like a risque car wash.
You had to make money to save someone who was dying.
Yeah, it was like
bus,
beachfront property or something.
The bus broke down in front of the strip club. How are we going to make money to save
this
the band?
This star is one of the guys from Revenge of the Nerds.
Really? Which one?
Robert Carradine.
Robert Carradine.
I don't think it was Revenge of the Nerds.
Is still around.
John Wayne's The Cowboys from 1972. Slim.
Right, but he'll always be nerds.
To most people, he's
and he's the coach of the band that goes to the regionals.
You gone back and watched Revenge of the Nerds lately?
How many of those? Those are four of those things. Right?
There's four, but only two of them are any good. And even the first one, if you I go back and watch that now, and I'm like, wow, this is a really angry movie. And I'm pretty sure you guys are guilty of a whole bunch of like serious crimes. I'm fairly certain Louis Skolnick is a rapist by the end of this movie. Like that bit when he's in the Darth Vader mask, I'm fairly certain he can be arrested for this.
Oh, yeah. And Timothy Busfield.
Yes. And Steve McGinley.
Oh, God.
No,
and,
Ted McGinley.
What's his name?
That guy.
That guy.
You know that guy?
That guy, Booger.
The guy that was on Moonlighting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who does the voice?
Who was the blonde guy that ended up on like Chicago Hope or one of those bad TV shows?
Anthony Edwards.
Yeah.
But he was on ER. He was on the good one.
Yeah. Okay. Nerds.
It's time for some.
And I love that. Yeah. I watched Police Academy.
This week?
No, it was like 2 weeks ago. It was on. I don't know, Cinemax, Encore, or something. I was like, Police Academy. boy, did that suck.
Yeah. I thought Police Academy
was
like,
great when it
I
came
can't
out.
believe they're using Relax by Frankie Goes to Hollywood at the beginning.
Steve
It was-
Gutenberg was a star.
Yeah, it was. I still like the first and third Police Academy movies,
Yeah.
but they.
By the time they go to Moscow, it's all over.
It's they're a little like they're not good.
Yeah.
But it's from that like weird run of '80s comedies that are like live action cartoons with like sleazy jokes and such. But it's I'm still waiting for them to remake or make another Police Academy. Like I can't believe they haven't
they
done that
probably
yet.
will. I recall Steve Gutenberg's hair being very fake at the beginning of that movie. Doesn't he have the shaved?
He's got like doesn't he have the afro thing going on in Police Academy?
The Jufro.
Yeah, he has that going on
Yeah.
in Police Academy.
Yeah.
But it's not a great. It's
No,
not a
but-
great series.
No, but there's all of those movies weren't great series, but
Yeah.
I watched them all.
Right, yeah.
I was like,
With a certain glee,
yeah.
I suppose.
Yeah, it was like when watching Meatballs. It was like, oh, this is pretty bad. I just watched Ghostbusters again.
I love Ghostbusters still.
I was just tickled by the whole thing.
Yeah.
When it was just so, they were so young.
Yeah,
They were so young.
And it's such a-
Dan Aykroyd was
It didn't
such
seem
a
like
puppy.
that.
No.
It didn't seem that way at the time.
It's like middle age. It's like this middle age. It's this great like middle aged guys going into business movie, but they're like hunting ghosts. So it's like as a kid, I don't think I got it as much. Like I loved it because I loved the cartoons. I liked all that stuff. But like the beginning parts of the movie, always like I was like doing something else during that point because it's all about like these guys. But you hear it now, and it's all this great banter and all this great back and forth, and the comedy is so good.
I was way digging Rick Moranis at that time after Strange Brew.
I wish he'd unretire.
Gozer.
Yeah.
I understand.
Did he?
That was an official retirement, and I mean, like,
When did he?
He didn't release a press release,
He
but
just retired from making movies.
yeah, I think what did he do after he did a kids football movie, Little Giants?
Yeah, he did that.
And, then he did a movie with Tom Arnold.
Yeah, he
right?
did Big Bully, and like he didn't. Well, what happened was oh god, I don't want to say
His
it, but it's
wife
not true.
passed away.
Yeah, his wife
and
passed away.
He had a
and
couple of kids that he wanted to raise, and he never really.
and he just decided to take off.
Movie making, as fun as it sounds, and it sounds like, it's always advertised as being a great time.
Yeah.
But take it from somebody who's did this for almost 6 years. You put your life on hold. They may pay you a lot if you're an above the line talent person, but you literally have to put your life on hold, and everything else suffers.
Yeah,
And I think obviously Rick Moranis, he's like compared
Put
to
family
Hollywood.
first, come on.
He's a real human being.
Yep.
And so it's like from a certain celebrity perspective, it's like, how could you walk away from this?
yeah.
I mean, he's probably made enough from Honey, I Blew Up the Kid or something to.
And I loved him in Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah,
do quite well.
he saved all his money from like the Honey I Shrunk the Kids movies, so he hasn't had to work
Right.
since
right.
then.
It would be nice to hear from him, though.
Yeah,
Let's call him.
I think, didn't he do some voiceover work
he may have.
on a cartoon?
He
thought he had.
may have done some voice work, but
Funny guy.
not
Funny
much
guy.
lately.
And Dave Thomas. I miss him, too. I don't think he's retired. He's out there somewhere.
Oh no, wait. You know what? No, they were both in Brother Bear. They were both the voices of the mooses in Brother Bear. So he did do
right.
voices in that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, remember Brother Bear?
John,
do.
you look very contemplative.
I'm wistful. I was trying, when you said Brother Bear, I immediately went to Strange Brew.
Yeah.
Which is one of
love
my
that movie.
all-time favorite movies.
Oh yeah.
I love that movie.
Classic.
Maybe
I'd
this will
kiss you,
change
but I
your
got
mind
puke breath.
with the donut. Man,
that
I never
movie-
laughed so hard when they made that short film about the future, the fleshy-headed mutant, and the spaceship taking off, but it's basically just the car. It's basically just the
Jack.
truck, at the shop.
Luke, I am your father.
Fleshy-headed.
I mean,
mutant.
and one of Max von Sydow's best performances. It's like, wow, get that paycheck, Max. You go.
He was in that mode though, because he did that. He did Ming the Merciless.
Yeah.
now I'm getting all like,
Wistful. See, now if the
I saw that 3 times at the Lakehurst. No, the fuck. Where was it? North Chicago, Libertyville Cinema.
What?
When it came out?
Strange
Brew.
Yeah.
Loved it.
we could probably, if we had a couple cocktails and a sing, take off
Yeah.
with Getty
What's
Lee. Yeah.
What's the beer from Strange Brew? Can you recall that?
Oh, I found this mouse in the bottle.
Yeah. The brewing company, the
Yeah.
evil brewing company up on the mountain
I can
that
picture him
Max
up on
von
the mountain,
Sydow
but-
runs. Oh God, why do I do this? It always turns into some like.
No, that's all right.
No,
kids, go see Strange Brew.
Yeah, watch Strange Brew. It's on DVD. You can probably pick it up for like $4.99 at Walmart. It's worth it.
If you've ever wanted to see a dog fly, it's Strange Brew.
It's like Wayne's World, but Canadian.
Or stormtroopers play hockey.
It's a dog laying on a piece of plexiglass while they run, and the dog looks so terrified.
Yeah.
But he's flying.
Yep.
Damn,
good stuff. Posers.
Why can't they bring back that magic? And even before Strange Brew, it wasn't so much that's what I was loving about Great White North. It was the SCTV episodes. It was the album they came out with, which was awesome.
Yep.
You know, probably outside this room, people going, "You like that?"
Yeah. Second City TV, I'm sure people know.
Sure.
Yeah.
So it's like I have a weakness for John Candy movies. You know, so I'm sitting there going, "Oh."
God, who was John Candy's character? He was his big character on SCTV was Johnny. Oh,
I don't.
Fuck, what was that?
I just remember.
Do you remember the John Mellencamp episode? Where, oh God, what's his name? Where Martin Short's nerd guy character.
Oh, the guy with his pants up and the funny hair.
Yeah, Ed Neebly.
Ed Grimley.
Ed Grimley.
The totally mental adventures of Ed Grimley.
He drinks some concoction and transforms into John Mellencamp.
Yeah.
And he ends up playing Jack and Diane.
Yeah.
That's someone I never thought was funny.
Martin Short?
Yeah, never.
He's funny on SCTV, and he writes funny stuff, and he does funny appearances, but then he makes movies, and they're terrible.
Yeah.
You know, like what's that thing when he's a kid?
With Charles Grodin?
Yeah, like Stewart or
it's the one like
yeah.
I can picture the DVD cover, but not the title.
Yeah, whatever. It sucked.
Yeah,
yeah. Like if you see a movie where Martin Short plays a little kid, don't watch it. It's terrible.
I always thought that if they made a movie in my life, John Candy would be perfect, and then he died.
Yeah.
So, but I lived.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think
we're good.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, I think
we're talking about John Candy.
Do we want to say anything about the Woody Allen movie other than I think it's a darn good flick.
It was kind of like looking at Woody Allen's sketchbook.
But what I liked about it was the fact that he plays this character who's like he used to be a promoter,
right?
He put together operas and stuff like that. But he plays his age in the film. You know,
well, I think
it just seemed really
your eyes
like
drooping off your face.
Oh, come on!
He looked sad. He did not. He's not. He looked really old.
Elsinore Beer.
What?
Elsinore Beer is the.
All right, now we can end the podcast. It was, the To Rome with Love was okay. It was, there were a couple of jokes. I don't think it worked as a whole.
I didn't quite. I really liked it. I would go see it again in a second. Didn't really believe Ellen Page as being so worldly.
No, she was reciting dialogue that belonged in the.
When it gets to Kierkegaard, I don't know.
I thought Alec Baldwin was charming.
Yeah,
he has that. That's a perfect part for him, where he's just like this breezy middle-aged guy forced to reflect.
Yeah.
I liked the Roberto Benigni story, but
I did very much.
I think that story or the story with Baldwin could have been stretched out to be a whole movie rather than part of this trilogy that doesn't really work.
I love the comedic surrealism of it. The fact that Benigni's in this story where all of a sudden he's just famous for no reason at all, and all these paparazzi are completely paying attention to everything he does. He's gonna make some toast. And that's the big news of the day,
right?
And and it's so fleeting and ephemeral, but it was very interesting. I just really, and you know what? It was nice to see Benigni in a film.
Yeah,
it's been a while for us Americans, I think.
Yeah.
To anyone listening overseas, Roberto Benigni kind of vanished from here right after. If he's still big over there, Mazel Tov. But he's
actually he toured the world with a one-man show of Dante's Inferno.
Did you interview him?
I interviewed him. I did a phone with him. John, hey, it's John on the phone, everybody. John, how are you, John? That's the guy in life. So watching him be this other guy who's really confused about why people like him, I thought it was a good performance, a nice chance for him to do something. Yeah. But that story just needed to be fleshed out a bit so the ending would really say something instead of kind of this tacked on thing. Oh, celebrity sucks.
Yeah.
So I like that, and I could have done without the opera singer story. That was more like reading a New Yorker short story.
Much better than Woody Allen prior to Midnight in Paris.
I don't know about that.
Match Point.
Well, yes, but that I would consider that a different type of film. The much better in the Woody Allen.
Right.
I love
the
Hollywood
humorist.
Ending. I love Curse of the Jade Scorpion.
I
love
that
the
too.
one about where they dig underneath the tunnel.
Small Time Crooks.
Yeah,
that was good.
I love those movies. I
think it like maybe between like Small Time. When was Small Time Crooks? That was 1999.
Yeah.
Oh no, that was that. Yeah, that was way back.
Yeah. So then there's this sort of 10-year gap of like Scoop. Anything
I didn't mind
else?
Scoop.
Anything else was pretty
the
good.
Larry David one.
Anything else was a great Jason Biggs performance that you don't usually get.
Well,
from Jason Biggs.
The thing I liked about this was you get to hear Woody Allen play Woody Allen and read Woody Allen lines instead of having a substitute Woody Allen character come in like Jason Biggs or Kenneth Branagh or Michael Caine did a good job.
And I like that it's also sort of a love letter to a city again. Manhattan. What else? Paris, Rome, Barcelona.
Yep.
It's very nice. It's very pleasant. It's worth the money.
It's fluff though. It's fun fluff, but I think it could have been. I gave it like 2.5.
It's highbrow fluff.
Fluff and wine.
Yeah,
and
it looks gorgeous.
Yeah.
Oh, it does. I love that opening shot where they slowly zoom in on the roundabout in Rome with the police officer doing that there. And then just the random person is the person inviting you into the movie. You know?
And there's a shout out for Penelope Cruz in that fucking dress. Oh my god! I gave a shout out in the audience. I was like, "Oh, is that me? Did that come out of my mouth? Sorry."
She's just one of the most gorgeous women in the world.
Yeah, and she gets to play a funny hooker. It's not about everything about it, except the dialogue is well developed.
A wise and amusing hooker in a Woody Allen movie? You're kidding.
I know.
Yeah,
She
wow.
should probably get an Oscar for it.
Does she know surprisingly more about subjects that interest Woody Allen than other women in the movie would be expected to?
Yes, she does.
Well, what do you know?
Huh. So what? She looked great.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
He writes good hooker parts.
No, at this
Hooker
point,
philosophers.
at this point, I'm glad to see Woody Allen cliches when they come up because it's by now they're institutions. So when the hooker who knows about jazz, I'm assuming,
it was philosophy, but the same thing.
Okay, like it comes again. I'm like, yeah, okay, this is there. It's okay.
John, were you intrigued to hear that Andrew Dice Clay has been cast in his next film?
Sure.
Is that for real?
I think it's for real.
Dice Man is in a Woody Allen movie?
He's gonna.
Oh, that's so
Andrew Dice
awesome.
Clay is taping his final stand-up special at the Wilbur Theater in August.
Really?
His final stand-up.
final
How
stand-up
is that possible?
Special.
Is he sick or something?
No, he's
like, what else does he have going on that he's not going to do stand-up?
I don't know. I think the legitimate stage. No, I don't know. I got an email. A press release about it. It's going to be his final stand-up, and he's going to do like 2 or 3 nights at the Wilbur.
Remember when he did a sitcom when he cleaned up his act, changed his name to Andrew Clay?
No.
Oh, he did for a horrible a Roseanne ripoff sitcom where he was like a dad and Kathy Moriarty was in it as his wife.
Oh,
it was awful.
2 phrases. Ford Fairlane.
Yeah, the Adventures of Ford Fairlane.
Yeah.
And One Night at McCool's.
Yeah,
he was great in those.
I forgot he was in that.
He was the cop or the. No, I don't know, but he was in that movie. He shot a lot of guns. But Ford Fairlane, The Adventures of Ford Fairlane.
Yeah, that's a good movie.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
That was the Rennie Harlan double. He had Adventures of Ford Fairlane and Die Hard 2, I think, come out in the same month.
Yeah, it was when he was the new discovery from Joel Silver and
let him make a pirate movie. Come on, make a pirate movie.
Well, there's a story about the making of that film that might perhaps, it certainly explains why the film was what it was, but it also explains why he wasn't able to do what he was able to do. If you listen to KCRW's The Treatment and look up Rennie Harlan's interview, I think it happened, I think he did the interview last year. He explains the fiasco with the pirate movie.
Talking about Cutthroat Island, by the way. Cutthroat Island.
And how it was just... Kuroko had gone bankrupt during the production.
Yeah.
And they didn't have enough money to sell it or make changes or anything like that. And they actually put it out there, I believe, without him having... before it was finished. Before it was...
Last-ditch effort to make some money.
Yeah.
What's the...
And I think he actually went even further to say that they actually put the movie out there to discredit him. So this is his blight.
What was the one with Gina Davis and...
Oh, Long Kiss Goodnight.
Yeah.
That was good.
That's really good.
That was fun.
That holds up so well.
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to watch him work on the set of Driven in Montreal, like 12 years ago. We went up there to interview him and Sylvester Stallone, and I got pissed off on the set, and I kept thinking, and I thought at the time, holy shit, that is scary. I mean, I know he's a good guy and everything, but you don't want to get him pissed off on his movie set. Because
it wasn't bad.
Man, he laid down the law pretty harshly. Like no nonsense. Get your shit together, people.
Cool.
You're supposed to do that when the journalists are there.
Yeah.
You know?
The journalist, everybody nicey.
Yeah. Kind of like me on the podcast.
Oh God, we have another. We have a Stallone movie later this summer, don't we?
We do.
Expendables 2.
Yeah,
Expendables 2. Yeah, we have Expendables.
You don't sound excited.
Can you tell?
What with JCVD and?
Oh my God, the first Expendables was so bad. I can't. No, the first Expendables sucked.
This is sacrilege to John.
I was so psyched.
I still have wood from that movie.
I was still psyched for the Expendables.
Is there something wrong with you?
And it's like it's just not very. It is not as good as you could have made with that movie. Jet Li should not be losing fight scenes to Dolph Lundgren.
Well, that's true.
First and foremost.
Well, yeah, okay.
But I love
but
the movie.
you know,
Arnold
but granted,
Schwarzenegger
they
and,
were fighting in an arena
Willis?
that was sort of better for Jet to fight in. I mean, Dolph had to duck and everything in those low
still
girders.
lame.
The movie only sucked when they opened their mouths to talk.
But they did so much of that though, and Jason Statham took a detour to star in another Jason Statham movie where he beat up guys on a basketball court.
I know, it's awesome.
And Chuck Norris is in the new flick.
Don't get me started on Chuck Norris.
Do you have a gun in this apartment? He's going down.
I'm going to beat you with my copy of Delta Force on John. Hand me that.
I've got probably the same Chuck Norris DVDs that you do, but I'm so tired of this. You know, it started out as like a thing making fun of Chuck Norris,
right,
to pretend that he was like such a badass, and now everyone's like, "Oh my God, Chuck Norris, that guy's so awesome, cool." No, Chuck Norris is an asshole. Mm-hmm. Chuck Norris is a tremendous asshole. In reality, Chuck Norris, you know, he
where do you get this?
He's
from?
a Republican right-wing nut.
Yeah, no, you don't know this. Chuck Norris writes a political column for like WorldNet Daily that's all about conspiracy theories and the president's not born in this country. He had a big article up like a week ago about how Obama is trying to destroy the Boy Scouts to turn everybody gay. Like, this is real. Chuck Norris, he tours the country and like hands out creationist literature at schools. He's an asshole. And I'm so sick of like this badass meme being thrown around about Chuck Norris. You know, like, it's fine. Make fun of his shitty movies and, you know, the fact that he looks like a little twerp in other action movies where he has to fight against a guy.
So you're saying no, thank you, Chuck Norris.
Well, no, it's just like these, like the whole like the whole irony thing is funny for a while, but eventually it starts turning into this thing where it's actually a career revival for him. He shouldn't have a career revival. His movies were terrible, and I own Invasion USA on DVD. His movies were bad, you know, and he is not someone.
But
who
it's
should
fun
have,
bad.
He's fun bad, but there are some people you should take the bullhorn away from. And he's not helping anything being out there in the world right now.
Okay, I agree that some people you should take that mic away from him. Yes, but Chuck Norris...
He's Sarah Palin with kickboxing. This is not someone that needs...
But I'm not listening to or caring about anything that has to do with Chuck Norris in politics. I'm Chuck Norris and Delta Force.
No, and the
Missing
Delta
in
Force
Action.
is awesome, and Missing in Action is awesome, and Invasion USA is awesome, and the Return of the Dragon is awesome. He was a charismatic guy in those movies, but
maybe not sidekicks.
Maybe not sidekicks, but like the fact that like he shows up in the trailers for this, and everybody's like, "Yeah, Chuck Norris! Oh my God, he's so awesome!" No, he's not. That whole thing was about how he's not awesome, you know, and it pisses me off. That thing pisses me off.
Okay, sorry, John.
The favorite phrase I heard in the last couple minutes: tremendous asshole. What a phrase! You're not just an asshole; you're a tremendous asshole.
And I'm sure I'll hear from people who want to tell me that like Chuck Norris. I'm sure he does like charitable things, but no, he's a
what
fucking
a hairline, what a beard.
Infomercial
30 years ago.
He's a fucking infomercial, total Jim, you know, washed up has been.
He was the hairiest action hero of the time. When he took off his shirt, it was like, ooh,
well, in Game of Death, in what is it in Return of the Dragon, Bruce Lee pulls his chest hair out. That's like the big move he pulls on him. He grabs him by his chest hair and rips it out and blows it off his hands. Like, yeah, what?
Well,
because that was probably real and it really hurt.
I'm sure it did. You know, I mean, that was a great scene. And, you know, the best part of it is that Bruce Lee beats the ever-loving fuck out of hairy, twerpy little redneck Chuck Norris.
Who's a tremendous asshole.
And it's. I'm sure I'm going to catch flack for this.
Can you imagine being at a bar and doing a pickup line on a girl and saying, Bruce Lee pulled the hair off my chest?
Yeah.
Would that work?
Maybe. I'll try it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, at first she would think, how old are you?
Yeah.
Bruce who? You know what's terrific about, if you read Chuck Norris's political column is for a while he was opening them with Chuck Norris facts things and then like laughing them off and saying, but really, he says on the Chuck Norris facts website, it says that evolution does not decide who lives and dies. Chuck Norris decides who lives and dies. That's very funny. But evolution is actually fake. Jesus put the dinosaur bones there in order to test our faith. I'm not kidding. This is like real shit, and nobody knows this because they're too busy pretending to do this like ironic action hero thing, and it annoys the shit out of me.
Bob, I need to watch Delta Force again to reinvigorate my faith in the cinematic
I hope you
Chuck
have
Norris.
nothing to say against. Who am I thinking of?
What? Jean-Claude Van Damme?
No.
Dolph Lundgren?
Van Damme is really pulling his shit back together.
Oh, I hope you have nothing bad
Bruce
to
Lee.
say against Charlie Bronson.
Oh,
Charles Bronson. Hell no. Charles Bronson's the man.
All right.
Can't say nothing bad against Charlie Bronson.
That's right.
My God, he'll come back from the grave and kick my ass. And plus, Death Wish was great.
Yeah.
He's
I just watched the Valachi Papers again.
Nice.
He's insane in that movie.
No, man,
they cut a guy's balls off. I saw that when I was young, and I was terrified.
Bronson was the man. Kinjite, forbidden subject.
The original, was it Charles Bronson or John Wayne that was the original Dirty Harry? At least he was offered it, but turned it down. I think John Wayne turned it down.
They offered everyone Dirty Harry, and they kept turning it down. John Wayne turned it down. Yeah. John Wayne was he was for a while infamous for turning down later period parts because he didn't like the message part of the movie.
Yeah.
He turned they offered him Dirty Harry. They said, this is perfect. You're an older cop in a new city. You're out of this world. And he didn't do it because he didn't like the high noon ending of the movie where Dirty Harry throws the badge away as this, fuck you, I need to get out of the system. He thought that was un-American to turn against the system like that. So he didn't do it. And that would have, and then a few years later, he made his Dirty Harry movie. Christ, what the John Wayne
McClintock?
McHugh.
Yeah. Sorry.
Which sucks.
Yeah.
Which is awful.
I hear Mary Tyler Moore turned it down.
Wow.
This is a career change she was looking for. But
didn't Steve McQueen turn it down too? He must have. Was he? Oh shit! Was he still alive then?
I don't know.
Still alive.
I probably turned it down. Man, I remember in the 70s the late night TV ads for Death Wish.
Yeah.
Wow.
By the time you get to Death Wish 4, you're like, oh, come on, he's got to do something.
And I feel like you could have seen this with a
Which one does he kill a guy with an
exploding
exploding soccer ball? Is that Death Wish 4?
I don't
think
recall.
so.
One of them is like he rolls a soccer ball into like a room and then has a button. Boom.
The one of the rapists in the first one,
Jeff Goldblum. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a call.
Yeah.
Hope Langland's his wife.
Yes.
Oh, Death Wish.
God.
Yeah.
See,
What was
I can't give you directions to my house.
he
but I can
did
pull
he
this
did
shot
one
out
with
of the air.
the one with Ursula Andress. Do you remember that?
A Death Wish.
Was that a
No.
Death Wish?
This was like 72, 70 Red Sun.
Oh yeah.
Oh right. That was the samurai in the Old West movie. Yeah, that was pretty cool. It was like Toshiro Mifune and Charles Bronson in one
good
movie.
call.
It's not
Good call,
quite
man.
as good as you'd think it would be. Where it's like, oh my God, Toshiro Mifune is a samurai in the Old West versus Charles Bronson. This is going to be awesome. And you watch it, and you're like, oh, that was okay.
If you investigate his movies, he ceases to amaze.
Yeah.
He's got Charles Bronson is just so much more than Death's Wish and the Magnificent Seven.
Kid Galahad opposite Elvis.
Once Upon a Time in the West.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Vincent Price flick. What was the one with the floating balloon?
Master of the World.
Yeah. Very good, Bob.
I know my Vincent Price friend.
The Brattle has this, kick-ass series coming up, and you'll be able to see the
I want to
mechanic.
catch.
Nice.
The original.
The original mechanic.
Sweet.
Man, that movie was
Real
awesome.
sweet. They
I
did
want them
every
to-
Thursday night. They're doing the kick-ass thing.
Yeah.
So they're doing the raid. They're bringing back
You can-
chocolate.
Dirty Harry, Shaft.
Nice. I want someone to run theatrically the original Killer Elite again, just so that everyone else can be as disappointed as I was the first time I saw the original Killer Elite. When you're just like, oh my God, Sam Peckinpah made a ninja movie? I've got to see this. And you watch it, you're like, this isn't very good. What happened? James Caan, why aren't you good?
James Caan turning up in a Was he in the Adam Sandler movie?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That, we gotta
That's
try
My
and
Boy,
try and
yeah.
forget this.
He's in That's My Boy.
That just the mere mention of that makes me regret. We got some. I got some bad feedback from the last podcast. You know, I'm very flattered that people listen, but wow, there was some negativity flying.
People were not fond of you. You didn't like That's My Boy. I'm taking it.
I did.
Yeah.
Didn't like it.
But
I laughed at it.
Back to James Caan.
Yeah.
I just saw Thief,
Yeah.
Wonderful film.
and it's like
Love it.
he's a good actor.
Yeah,
Well, John, hadn't you seen that before?
Yeah, but not since, not for 10, 15 years. It was on net. It
Early
came up on Netflix.
Tangerine
I was like,
Dream
let's watch
soundtrack.
this. Damn, Mr. Khan, you got some chops. What are you doing?
And James
around?
Belushi.
For some reason, James Caan, he must be like a semi-retired at this point, because you'd think this would be someone who could have any cameo role he asks for, just by showing up in a movie. It's like, oh my God, James Caan, this will be. I mean, Robert De Niro can't do all of those.
Right.
Okay, think of how much better Meet the Parents would have been with James Caan. How much more threatening he would be than
the Barbara Streisand role.
In the De Niro role, but as the Streisand role, he'd be funny as well.
Okay, it would have been darker.
Yeah.
For sure.
I did the junket for Elf.
Nice.
In New York.
Yeah.
And we went up. We were in Empire State Building. There was a party. On
Oh,
the
yeah,
top
yeah,
of the
I was
Empire
there.
State Building.
I was there.
And I was waiting in line to get on the elevator. And James Caan comes up with his entourage of ladies. There's like 5 hot women
James
walking with
Caan
James
was
Caan. And he looked at the line. He goes, "Fuck this," and turned around and left. And I was like, "Oh."
He was coming up to the party.
He was.
This
I
was like
guess.
this really cool. It was like what, on like the 89th floor? or
Yeah,
something
he was
like that?
walking into the party, and
It was
there
written
many
something
people
like
just
that, I
said,
don't
"Fuck
know.
this," and walked away.
Well, he did Hollywood parties back in the day when they were Hollywood parties.
Right.
That was.
I mean, he partied at the Playboy Mansion back when that meant something.
Right.
I was like, Ed Asner was there.
Bob Newhart.
Bob Newhart. That was really special.
Yeah.
Is Bob
Talking with
Newhart
Bob
still
Newhart.
alive, or did he pass?
yeah,
Yeah,
Ed
he's still
Simkus
alive.
is interviewing him this week.
Nice.
Something, yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Wonderful guy. Northsider, Chicago.
Yeah.
Nice.
The best sitcom ending ever.
Yeah.
I just learned something about Bob Newhart. I was in Chicago last week, and there's this apartment complex called Marina City, which I think cinemaphiles might recognize because it was the parking garage through which the car just went flying out of the parking garage in Steve McQueen's The Hunter and into the Chicago River. Apparently, this was where Bob Newhart's character was assumed to have lived in the Bob Newhart show.
Yeah, his
Nice.
apartment
But it was
with Suzanne Pleshette.
Yeah, but actually, it was a misunderstanding. It was a misunderstanding. Bob Newhart's character actually lived further north in Chicago, but a lot of people thought that he lived in this building, the Marina Towers. Anyway, I think it's time we wrap this one
Yeah.
up.
What were we talking about? Anyway,
this was a Spider-Man show.
Go see
Savages?
and rent
Yeah.
Strange Brew.
Yes.
Rent Strange Brew.
Absolutely. Hey, if you have anything you'd like to say, send us an email. We'd love to hear from you. If you agree with us, disagree with us, we're at contact@post-movie.net. And if you can go to iTunes and leave us a review, that would be like, oh man, I think after 3 years of doing this, we've only got 9 reviews on iTunes. So
Really?
anything
3
you
years?
do, has it been 3 years?
I don't know.
2.5.
We should have a party.
I think it's actually
4 years?
10
years.
almost. No,
Long
it's
time.
2 and 3/4 years.
We've lasted longer than some comedy routines.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And we have 9 reviews on iTunes. It's like you got to sell it. You got to sell the reviews.
Yeah, you do.
I like
You got
that.
to pitch.
Bob, thanks for joining us.
No problem.
He hesitated like
Maybe
I
thought a problem
don't
they
know.
developed.
I thought you were gonna.
There was a
I thought you were redoing the "if you want to listen to" part, not the whole
If
thing.
you want to listen to Bob, here are 10 places.
Bob,
We
thanks
had
for joining us.
shows in this, in
Steve,
this
there
hour.
was a problem. I think I would have liked to have had a little bit more service. You can listen to all of our episodes online. We're at post-movie.net, and you can follow us on Facebook, which is cool because sometimes we post stuff there.
Yep.
Yes. It's hot in here.
It is. Well, I have to close the window because the train makes noise.
Yeah.
Until next time, I'm Steve Head.
I'm John Black.
So long, everybody.
Schlong, 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 schlong.